Live. Hey Kirsten, how are you? Good to see you. Daily Junkie, hello, hello. What debate? Hello everybody, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Ginger Girl. Welcome, 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 Thomas. Annette, Roger, Cats, Brew. Is that bra, basically? What's up, Tamara? Welcome, everybody. Presidential. Oh, yeah, I don't watch these things. I feel like it's completely pointless. The dogs are fighting. Well, welcome, everybody. What's up, No Curve 23? Wait. I think you told me the name. Was it James? I'm sorry if I got it wrong. Remind me, please. Welcome to all the newcomers to this live chat. To give you a quick outline, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof we live in a simulation. I've been vocal about the experiment that I've devised, and since has been replicated by over 1,000 people worldwide. And we're meeting here on the daily to discuss the experiment, the discovery, as well as science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, whatever comes to mind. Brian, right. Well, I'm not sure actually if you ever told me your name before, so, but, interesting. Middle name is James. Maybe I'm psychic. What's up, Andrea? So, we meet here on the daily, and we're discussing all kinds of fun topics. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, 3 words. D-A-N, 1 word, G-O, 2nd word, Thoughts. Because there are videos there that are much more extensive than the ones that you can see on TikTok. Much more lengthy and in depth and entertaining as well. So you make sure you check out my YouTube channel. Yeah, I don't usually eat it, but I just wanted to see what's going on. And then you discovered it was a mistake. Name one interesting subject you're discussing. I mean, every day we discuss a lot of very fascinating subjects. Discuss quantum physics, sometimes in quite some depth. We discuss philosophy, different perceptions, and we discuss the experiment that I've devised a few years ago. Basically points to us living in a computational environment. I've discovered that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest what is called a spirit molecule, you will see code running in surfaces. And anybody can do this. It doesn't matter where you are, how you are, when you are. It will always be the same observation, which is very interesting. Yeah, clues. Welcome everybody. So yesterday we actually, Jamie, good to see you, man. Welcome to the team again. Yesterday we discussed quantum computation at some length with Nico. That was great. Good to see you, Jamie. And today we might, well, depending on what comes up, we might pivot and talk more specifically about relevance in application. I think that's very important to discuss. What do you think would happen if you could look at it through a microscope during the experiment? So I'm actually using a microscope lens on it. I can show you. I put it in the front. It just basically amplifies. I can show you. This is a microscope lens that I put in the front. I think I've seen this before, right? But obviously if you look through a microscope, like an actual microscope, I think you're just going to see it much larger. That's all. And this is something that I'm planning to do. It's just a matter of budget. You got a budget for everything. I have a whole set of experiments lined up. So just gotta get around to it. Yeah, this painting is by my fiance. It's from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. When Marvin meets the mattress, the smartest thing in the universe meets the dumbest thing in the universe. One is the smartest and the most miserable. One is the dumbest and the happiest. Classic. Appreciate it. 9 Perfect Strangers. What do you think? Oh, I didn't realize that was already on there. Yeah, that was the original thing. But it's not a microscope, obviously. A microscope would amplify it by a lot more. Considering the fact that it just amplifies the actual width and robustness of the diffraction. If you put it on any surface under a microscope, I think you will see the whole thing much bigger. Maybe you know this, but you can actually use laser to be a microscope. So if you project a beam of laser through a drop of water, on the wall behind the drop of water, you will see the beam of laser basically splits up and it opens up. You can see the little microbes inside of the drop of water, which is amazing. Another thing too, basically. Actually, I've never tried to do that on the molecule. That should be a great experiment. Actually, I'm going to write it down right now. I'm glad you brought it up. Project laser through drop of water. Amazing. Awesome. Kirsten's saying, I had surgery 2 days ago and was shown some pretty insane stuff about the console. Amazing. Surgery that you were performing or surgery that was done on you? Kirsten. It was done on me. I had a block on my butt. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Fixed now? Do you feel better? Danny Six Truth. Yeah, it sounds pretty serious. Do you feel better now? Oh, wow. I'm so happy to hear that. It's incredible. Was it like an emergency, or was this something that was planned and you knew about it? No emergency. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how these things work. Oh, probably would magnify it with the water through glass. Yeah, it will magnify it, and also I think we will see a lot more content in there. Let's see, Kirsten is trying to come on. Hey, Kirsten.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. How are you feeling?
Oh, much better actually now. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I thought I was having a heart attack. It's the second time it's happened. The first time it happened was on Seven's birthday, and it's kind of the running joke because it was 2 days after my birthday that it happened again. So I was like, oh, the synchronicity, right? And yeah, so
when was your birthday?
Hers was May 23rd. And it literally happened that night, and they did a CT scan, and they said, oh, it's just stool. And I was like, that didn't feel right to me, but I just said, okay, whatever, and I ignored it. And then this time when I had to actually call 911 because I thought I was having a heart attack, I felt like my guts were being ripped out. Like it was I mean, I had my daughter with no epidural, nothing. Like I'm pretty okay with pain. Like this was like something different, and I passed out on the floor, and it was just,
Whoa.
yeah, it was a mess. So they took me in. They were like, yeah, you have to go into emergency surgery. You have a block in your bile duct because I don't have a gallbladder. So they
Jesus.
said it's pretty abnormal, but they said it does happen. And yeah, they found one. They put a balloon down in there, a little balloon stent thing, and then got rid of it. And then I felt immediately better. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Right before I went into surgery, I saw like in the room like all of my ancestors, like, and then the same way like you do with the molecule, they were all holographic, right? And so I was laughing, and the surgeon and the tech's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "Nothing." I'm like, "I'm seeing my family." They're like, "We haven't given you anything yet," and I was like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, I'm a medicine woman or whatever, and they're like, "What do you mean?" So then they're asking me all these questions, and I was like, "Yeah, well, I'll talk to you guys about it later. I'm a little nervous right now, to be honest, because I don't buy into Western medicine too much." And then the guy goes, "Well, it seems like you need it now," and I was like, "Good point. It sure does." So then I just kind of shut up. But
Wait.
after that, like I went out and. They started, like, all I remember is when I woke up, I went out, I woke up, but then I remember, like, I came to immediately and just started writing, and they were telling me with the consult, what's very important is your breath, like the way that you breathe, and the sacred geometry, like your breath is very important when you're using the console. If you have like a rapid breath, it will move it differently, so you have to keep a very even keel breath. And then also they said you're exercising different parts of your brain. If those aren't properly attuned, it's not going to work correctly. And then they also said pay attention to the sacred geometry and the structure, because that's what you use to move it towards you, to move it away from you, and to use it inside of you.
What do you mean by paying attention to sacred geometry?
Well, because they said there's sacred geometry, at least for me, there is like in and around. I think I told you, like, it shows up on my skin and stuff. Well, it'll appear like sometimes in the background of my console. And like I always just kind of don't pay attention to it just because it's just there, right? It like sometimes is on like part of the logo part, or like, I don't guess it's not a logo, it's like just one of the box parts, right, on the back. But they're saying to pull that to you and to use that to go into it sometimes, I guess. But I tried the breathing thing today when I got out, and I was like, oh my gosh, it works. Like the breathing thing is like just calming your breathing down and really regulating it really seems to help work with the parts of your mind. And then they were also telling me to work with the back of your mind, like the occipital lobe of the brain versus working with the frontal lobe. Will help you be able to use it more efficiently. So
Interesting.
I immediately tried it. I don't know if that resonates with you, but yeah, there were some other things. I'll have to look it up, but it was pretty cool.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you're okay. But I asked you,
Yeah.
when was your birthday? You said 2 days. Was it recent?
September 6th.
Okay, so happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be 21?
Yeah, exactly. I'm forgetting. It feels amazing.
Incredible.
It was funny, in the hospital, they asked me, how old are you? And I said, I don't know, I forgot on purpose. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, DMT told me to forget my birthday. They were like, okay. Like, they didn't know what to do with me at the hospital.
That and Jehovah's Witness both will tell you. Maybe they come from the same place. Well, again, I'm super glad that you're okay. Still with us.
Yeah, it was.
What is it? What if it goes wrong? I don't know anything about it. If it goes wrong, what happens? Can you actually DIE from it?
No, but it blocks. What happens is it blocks your bile ducts. So if I were to eat on it, I would throw up profusely, and because it blocks everything from going down into the stomach, right?
I see.
And because I don't have a gallbladder, I don't have a production for the bile system to break it down. So the pancreas and the liver have to work overtime. And I got my gallbladder out at 22, which had I known better back then, I wouldn't have done that, because there are ways to get around that, get around gallstones.
I see.
And but I didn't know, because my mom had hers out, so I just got it taken out. And it's also drinking like things with calcium in it, like soda and stuff like that, that can help build stones. So that was the first thing that they said to me was like, your diet gets to change. And I was like, okay, done. So that's the first thing. And
taking the
so,
health more seriously. It seems to be going around.
yeah, absolutely. And that was the guidance. They're like, listen, we're moving to a higher density here. You got to cut that crap out. No more bad food. So we just went through and like ditched everything that wasn't good in the house, like literally threw it all out. Like just, and then they told me start pruning down on everything. Kind of what you did when you just started tossing stuff away. That's literally what I was doing today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, it was a great realization. Honestly, like I feel like it took a bunch of trauma that was stored in there, and just like, honestly, I feel like it was their way of like being like, okay, you can't handle this, so we're just gonna take it out of there for you. So
I see.
So
Wow.
I feel clear.
Yeah.
I feel very
clean. I also feel like taking my health was something I was called to do recently. So I started running every day, and that seemed to be going around across the board. Yeah, we do. We're moving into some kind of space that requires that. And Kyle,
Yep.
absolutely, brother, said you're interested in the experiment. That's what we're here for, to talk about it. Feel free to ask any questions or come on and talk about it or ask questions. Or if you want to do it more in private, you can always email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com if you have specific questions. On YouTube, we have a question. Tried myself with the endometry, but I don't have access. Yeah, well, that's most people's problem, right? As far as the laser, it's very easy to get. You can get it on Amazon. If you go to codeofreality.com, once again, it's codeofreality.com. There's a page there that tells you all the details of what you can get. It shouldn't be that expensive. Amazon or Alibaba, you can get the parts, or you can get the one that we make, but it's going to be much cheaper if you just get it on Amazon. So, and again, if you have specific questions, feel free to email me or ask here, of course. And on YouTube, we have a question. You got it. Cock2341. What's your name, by the way? It's exhausting to say handles all the time. How did you actually come up with the laser experiment? It's a long story. The nutshell of it is that I spoke about it even in the first video that you can actually watch here on YouTube. If you scroll down, you'll see the first video I ever put out on it has a thumbnail that says I found proof that we live. I think I did. Yeah, I found proof we live in simulation. But you'll see right away. It's like clear that that's the video. And anybody on TikTok who wants to watch the full version, it's on YouTube on Dango Thoughts. And we're going to be talking about the details in the documentary, more in depth. As far as my thoughts about the 2022 research that linked the you mean the molecule and NDEs? What study exactly linked those two? Not familiar. Was that something from Imperial? I don't remember this conclusion in any of the studies recently done, but maybe I'm missing something. You're confident I'll see the same code? Yes, I am very confident. Nobody so far has seen anything else.
Also, Danny's been on many podcasts, including mine, speaking about exactly how he came up with it and the beings that talk to him and all of that. He gets more in detail on those.
Oh yeah,
my podcast is called Psychic Babes, but there's also many others that he's been on.
Yeah, you can plug your I think. Do you prefer on TikTok or on YouTube?
Sure. YouTube, it's www.youtube.com/Psychic Babes.
Psychic Babes. So we had an interview there with Kirsten as well. It was a good interview. I think I was in Romania when we did that. I remember that now. I have zero doubt it is. It's just my blowing. Yeah. Well, I actually think you should always have a doubt. I don't think you should have zero doubt. The whole point of it is that it will prove itself without anybody needing to, believe or trust or any of this religious predisposition stuff. So let's see. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about today, more in depth, is the I guess what are the implications and how it actually touches upon our lives, and what what can we take away from this in a way that is instructive, that can actually do some positive work in our lives? Because on the surface of it, it doesn't seem like it necessarily changes anything, which I don't think it does. The observation itself does show you that something is for sure beyond. So if you weren't that open to that idea, it will open you up to that idea. And that alone can do some work. To all the newcomers who don't know what I'm talking about, I discovered a few years ago that an actual proof that we live in a simulation. And people like to frame these things in different ways. People like to think of it in terms of we are all in the dream of God, we are all part of a unified field. There's all kinds of perceptions that people have, and I think that the ultimate truth of it is in the instance of existence. So as we sit here, as we speak, there's a feeling that we all experience, and and these feelings can vary for different people at different times, but there's some kind of a core central thing that is being appropriated, the moment-to-moment experience. And this is something that was talked about, endlessly throughout cultures, throughout the millennia. And this is a very common utterance that people make on social media. But truly being aware of what's going on without trying to label it is quite a difficult task. That's because even when we're trying to do that, we're constantly trying to do it through certain frames that somebody else imposed on us, or somebody else told us about, even when we think that these are the wholesome ones. So whenever we discover something that feels right to us, either it's through some spiritual pursuit or through religious channels, whatever it is, or we found some kind of a community that really speaks to our inner being in a way that feels right, we tend to immediately forget to pay attention ourselves to the moment to moment, and we start perceiving the world through other people's projections. So if it's the idea that we're all one, it's almost like there's a full commitment to this idea, and there is no wiggle room that rides with you, that tells you, well, maybe that's not the case. I'm not saying right now it is or it isn't. I'm saying that this is an example of where, because something feels wholesome and good, we kind of stop trying to pay attention ourselves. And I think that ultimately there is no other way to experience the world but through this immediate perception. Trying to eliminate as much of the conceptual framework as possible, while allowing the conceptual framework to inform certain things that are required in order to build bigger things. So obviously, if you want to, build a building or build a business, things that require analysis, you obviously have to rely on understanding how parameters interact with one another, do research, utilize your creative and cerebral mind, and that is important. But the moment to moment needs to be experienced in its nakedness, in the most naked form possible. And I feel like I also catch myself doing that. So like I have people ask me all kinds of questions, and when I answer these questions, it solidifies certain ideas as more concrete than others. And then sometimes I was listening today to I have a good friend who interviewed I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ido Portal. He's kind of like a movement expert. He was on the Huberman podcast giving an interview. He was around. He trained McGregor, trained a lot of famous athletes, and is kind of a philosopher as well, in a very actual way, like in a lived way. And this is whenever I hear him talk, I always remember this, and then I forget that I remember that, I forget again, and then I have to be reminded. And I think it's a beautiful insight and very, very important, that no matter how much we think we understand, ultimately the truth is in some kind of an occurrence that happens around you now. And it might be that everything you ever thought about that was true, even if it was true, might completely be replaced with something new. And the willingness to always carry that possibility as something that can in fact happen is, I think, the only way to truly be prepared for what the world brings. And as we experience, all of us, the world will bring more and more of these very fast-paced changes with more and more frequency. And if I have to point to one skill that I think would be, basically the only true currency, it would be this: the ability to pivot without getting attached to anything that you thought you understood. And that would include, of course, the perception of the self, among others, but also all the belief systems we have, even the new ones, which is the hardest ones actually to shake off. This is why, evangelizing is very common, because the second you discover something new, it's novel, your brain interacts with it on a certain level, and it does play a very similar role to things that would produce a lot of dopamine, for example, like substances and things like that. So it's kind of hard to let go of, especially of the new things that we've learned recently, and they feel good. And it's a good practice once in a while, especially with the new things, to see, well, let's see also all the ways in which it can be wrong. And then kind of entertain that idea, play with it, allow yourself to feel what it would feel like to be actually wrong about everything you think you understand. Hey Tina, good to see you. Let me see if I'm not missing too many questions. The universe is built of code in the most basic sense, no? See, this is actually one of these things, Kyle. The proposition is that the world at bottom is computational. It's not that we live in a computer. And that requires to understand what computation is, which requires a pretty deep dive, how are you, Gail, into these concepts. And understand that ultimately the only relevance they have is what kind of work or change. And you can say, you mean positive change? Sure, if that's what you're aiming for. I mean, I don't know why you would aim towards anything else, but towards whatever goal feels right to you, which is a role that you're playing in this world. But it has to align with something that is functionally true about the world, not just something that makes you feel good inside but doesn't actually map onto what's going on, which is, again, it's especially in the modern world where everything is very convenient, it's something that is easy to miss, that part, that at the core of things, nobody knows. Nobody really knows anything. Even the people that have been around for a long time and sound very wise, the only thing we know is what we experience, and it's nowhere written that what we experience is somehow an accurate mapping or representation of what in fact is going on. And I just love this practice because, for example, he was talking about, I'm not giving too much away because the interview is going to be out later, but this is a point that I've actually never heard him make. And he was not talking about anyone in particular, he was just talking about it in general, about people doing that. I thought it was a very insightful way of seeing the situation. So he used name dropping as an example. You know how people do that? Like, you know somebody and then somebody says something and you're like, oh, like I know so-and-so. Or something that resonates with you. So there's kind of like the knowledge name dropping version of this, which is a lot more common because it's disguised as a participation in the conversation. But the truth is there's just kind of like this like egoic, like, oh, I also know kind of thing, right? So it's when somebody's telling you something and you heard something remotely similar to what you know that somebody else said, you say, oh, and then you kind of bring it into the conversation without even thinking, is it actually adding something to the conversation right now, aside from you wanting to say that you know this thing or that you know this person who said this thing? And what he said is two very interesting things, which connects to the functional part. He said that you actually, there's two things here that are practical advice. The first one is to stop yourself the next time you feel this impulse to do that and ask, is it actually adding something to the conversation, or is it that I just want to show that I also know something or that I know a person? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that on the surface. It's just that sometimes just you thinking about it had the value, but the second you said it, it lost its value. And then it kind of brings the conversation to a different place or derails the conversation. So sometimes the value is in the fact that you made that connection. So the first thing is don't say anything. Just wait and see if it actually is even relevant, and don't worry about it. If it's important and it's relevant, you can always bring it up at any point until the person finishes talking, after the person finishes talking. The second one is that if you already made the connection, so you saw the relevance and the similarities between the thing that was expressed and the thing that you're now saying, now you already did that, okay? So that's not new information. Now think about what are the differences. And that might actually bring something much more interesting than you thought. If you can see the differences between what you thought was similar and this, you might actually learn something. And I thought these two practical pieces of advice are very very relevant. Yeah, he's phenomenal, and one of his biggest things, his admissions in the conversation, is like his biggest practice, because he was very successful in life, is to actually try and drop, because a lot of people can say that, right? But he says, I'm actually privileged in that I was successful. So I can actually truly say, can I drop the importance of my success and the story of my success? Can I not hide behind my accolades and achievements? Can I actually not make it matter truly inside? And he said, that's my personal practice. But everybody has this version. So what is this thing that is truly, truly, truly emanating as something that you kind of know, or maybe sometimes you don't, that is the lower M matrix, which is the conceptual matrix in our heads and society and all of that? What is this? What are these waters that we swim in? And do we behave in a way that we are just kind of just an ebb and flow of that lower case M matrix? Or do we have some individuation that goes deeper than that? And sometimes it's actually very difficult to answer, because saying that on the surface is by itself already a virtue signal, right? So like, for example, you say something that on the surface of it is interesting, and then there's an immediate impulse of like, oh, wow, look what I said. It's like, I'm an interesting person, or I'm saying these things that sound interesting. I draw attention, and immediately it makes you feel good because of that. So again, there's nothing wrong with the egoic game on the surface of things. It's just that, does it actually play a role in your larger arc? Are you capable of dropping the importance of that? Are you saying these things because you think they bring true value, or are you saying them in order to fulfill some kind of a immediate need you have to matter? And we all have a version of that, and we all have our own, tale that we call our lives. And I found it very inspiring to kind of remember that, okay, right, what is it that I am doing that is more like that? And how can I change it to make it more about what I'm actually contributing, or at least what am I contributing to my longer arc versus the thing that I want to feel right now about this interaction. And it's not like I have some kind of a big conclusion here. It's just that I really wanted to share that, because in the context of speaking about these enormous, explosive topics that we tend to talk about here, it is entertainment, and it's totally fine. I love it. But I think that if I truly ask myself, what is it that I want to be more like, and I think I want to say more things that actually matter, that connect to something that is true, but at the same time applicable to something that is here. Which makes the question that a lot of people ask here, what is the relevance of this discovery, a lot more tangible and a lot more important. My usual answer is, when you discover something new about the world, it doesn't necessarily automatically tell you how it can be applied for something that is, will be relevant to our day to day. And I always use quantum mechanics as an example. But I think that I still believe that, but I do think that as we go, there also needs to be, because I do believe that it's all a fractal and it kind of holds the truth throughout, there also have to be small things we take from it that makes us better in the moment. Even if it's just by the fact that we understand that something truly is going on, and if before we weren't entertaining that, maybe this will give us the little bit of the push that we needed to start doing something of a greater value, not just to ourselves, but for other people. And by the way, it can even manifest as on the surface seeming to be selfish, like you can invest more time in taking care of your own health or taking care of your own looks, which again sounds very vain, but maybe you can look at it from the perspective of what it's like to be in your company. I'm just giving an example, right? So taking care of yourself more, so it feels better when you're around, right? So it come in many shapes, and I think that the relevance of this becomes more and more important as we move into a world that the only thing that you know that would matter is how you feel in the moment. Because if everything is available, let's say you have universal, somehow we get to universal basic income, so there's always some money and there's always everything available, the meaning seeking will become infinite because everything is available and there's no real risk of any kind. And I think being able to just be equanimous in the moment and at the same time be able to connect to people and at the same time paying attention to what is required in order to make your surroundings better, I think that is the only true value that we can carry. Let me look at a couple of comments just to make sure that I'm not too far behind if there was anything that I can answer. Power meaning, Huxley talked a lot about that. Yep. Symbolic versus immediate experience. What's up, Azamun? Danny and company. Have you ever eaten an almond? True or false? I need to take care of my looks to make others experience better. Okay, be right back. Washing my face. Anybody who wants entertainment should go to YouTube to Dango Thoughts. Cool Guy 42 is in the house and he's hilarious. That is the way that you make others feel better, brother. What's my favorite thing about myself? That is actually a very difficult question for the obvious reasons. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. That is a difficult question, actually. Okay, I think we're, yeah. Second chromosome is used. Thank you, Swim Tight 92. Like how a lot of certain types of environmentalists do more harm. Yeah, that is true. But also how much we judge them. That also does harm, right? The finger pointing, as long as it goes inwards, you're good. As long as it goes outwards, gotta reassess there. So what they're just being vain before vain. I'm gonna get back to you on that, Peter. That's a really good question. I gotta think about that. Yes, I do it every day. AI is scary. You posted a video about computation being the basis of reality, but it got removed. Where can I find it? We find it. Wait, it got removed? I'm not sure that. First of all, if that's true, I have to know about it. Divergent Hormy. Divergent Normie. Sorry, dyslexia. Is it on TikTok or on YouTube? Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you. Rather than useless, meaningless sentences, you're like every other human that wants to know their origins and their destination. Sure. Have a few questions. Go ahead. That would be wonderful if we could be in our own company. Did you see how quantum entanglement is displayed as a yin-yang? So that's one of these things that people fall into rabbit holes that are. It's crazy how how information can be misleading. So this is a really good example of this. Subsonic producer. Okay, so the entanglement that you know from this video, everybody knows from this video, where it looks like yin yang. That is not what it looks like. So let me tell you what happened there. So basically, what they did is that they what happened there is still amazing, but it definitely didn't look like yin yang. And by the way, Tyler, who we all love, the guy who does all the videos about frequencies, he posted that, and I actually texted him. I'm like, hey, bro, you know that that's not what happened, right? He's like, yeah, I know. I changed it. But this is how the sausage is made, guys. This is a good example of this. So this is what happened there, okay? And this was even mentioned on Joe Rogan. It's so crazy. So basically what they did is they projected a laser through a beam splitter. The apparatus is pretty complex, actually. But basically, imagine if this is the laser, this is the beam splitter, right? We're looking from above. And then it splits the beam into two, right? So then the beam goes this way, and it splits that way. And what happens is, because the beam goes through the splitter here, and there's a screen right here, okay? Then the beam that was split goes here, and this is the screen on which we're projecting. Is that clear? So again, a laser's coming from here, splits into two, this is where the laser goes, and this is where the laser goes. And here you have a screen on which you're projecting, and here you have a screen with an image. So what happens, this is called the quantum phantom effect, basically, which is still crazy and amazing, and we're not quite sure how it happens. But it has to do with the quantum effect that every time you measure something, it resets the parameters of that binary state. So if it was up or down, if you move it through it's called Gerlach. I forget what it's called, but there's this apparatus, like a box, basically resets it. And for some weird reason, the second it knows it was reset, it actually resets all its parameters to baseline, so you can't actually know what the outcome is going to. It's almost like it knows you know, just like in the double slit experiment. Okay. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you. So the only thing that is relevant to this experiment is that somehow what happens is the beam that is now separate here somehow transmits the information from here to here, and there's balloons on YouTube, it's beautiful, somehow transmits the information from here to here without the signal traveling through space and time. Again, balloons. I guess this is balloons. Somehow without, I wonder if it's going to keep doing it. Yeah, it's keep doing it. So just, guys, so this is balloons apparently on YouTube. It's amazing. So anyways, so even though the beam is now separate, somehow this light tells this light what is here. We don't know how that happens. That is a mystery. That's crazy. But what happened in that experiment is that what they put here is an image of the yin yang. So when they projected it here, so when it was somehow got here, it looked like the yin yang, because that's the image here. So it was an actual image of the yin and yang. So it's not that. So, and then in the story, because obviously they like clickbait, what they said is the entanglement looks like yin yang, which in this experiment, I guess you can say that, but it's not that the entanglement looks like yin yang, is that the entanglement effect transmitted an image of yin yang from here to here. That's what happened, okay? But just so you now know, like you were convinced of that, right? And everybody just keep perpetuating this instead of actually looking deeper into it, which is not that difficult to find. You can just find the research. And this is a perfect example because I want you to know everything is like this. Everything. 99.9999999% of all things that you think are crazy mind-blowing, that you think are like, oh my God, how are scientists not looking deeper into this? 99.99999% of the time, you just didn't understand something. Not your fault. It's because of how it's being reported, right? This is why you see this tendency in scientists when people just jump on something to go, hold on, can we look at the details first? And then people wants to just jump, right? On the other hand, I also understand the excitement about all the newest things that are coming up. But I want you, this is very important. This is exactly what we're talking about. It's super important that we reassess. The first thing you should always assume about what you think you understood is that the first thing you should assume, no matter how smart you are, you should assume you didn't understand. Or that there was more to it than is usually on the surface. He gave really succinct view on computation being the basis of reality. I did? I had one about the molecule, the spirit molecule. Is that the one you're talking about that I'm saying the are we AGI? That one? Because that one definitely wasn't taken down. Also, maybe this is the Mandela effect. Maybe you were from a timeline in which I made that video. No, I just don't remember, honestly. Can you remind me a couple of points I made in it? Yin Yang is a fractal too. Actually, the Yin Yang is not a fractal. So, I might have been doing a live because I couldn't find a video of it later. Yeah, I might be doing a live. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more likely. But I should do a video like that. So I'm actually going to write it down. Copy MD passing it from one place to another, and we need to run more data. How dare you understand that everything there is. No, I'm sorry, Oscar. Listen, I was talking to everybody else. I forgot to say that Oscar Rydberg does understand all of it. No, that's true. So just you, though, nobody else. So this is quantum teleportation. No, that is this is entanglement. This is by definition entanglement. Now, I actually personally think that it's still mysterious exactly how it happens, but I don't think it's that mysterious if you consider the wave function to be a unitary thing. I think you can only think of it as really mysterious if you think that the wave function in fact collapses, which I think at this point there is no reason to think that at all. According to the many worlds interpretation, the wave function never collapses. It's just it decoheres from the rest of the multidimensional wave and stays with you in your four-dimensional space-time. Does that make sense? So it becomes part of yours, and you become the observer in that one. But there's infinite number of worlds in which it still propagates as what it is, and the wave knows it's the wave, so to speak, which is still a mystery exactly by what mechanism it happens. But if you postulate that even though the photons here, the balloons are going to come again, it's going to be awesome. If you postulate that the photons here, after they pass through the splitter, are still part of a larger structure, the wave function, that in higher dimensional space can see itself, so to speak. So it knows. The reason it's not mysterious, I think, is because the wave function knows this, so it obviously communicates this here too. You still need to explain why it doesn't propagate back as well, because it doesn't. Or actually, you know what? I'm taking it back. I don't know enough about that experiment to say that. Maybe they never tested it back. I'm not sure. Okay, so I take that back. But I do think that the wave function basically knows. So this is it. It would also explain the double slit experiment, by the way. And this is why it's not that crazy. Again, it is crazy, but it's not that crazy as they postulate, because it's not like somehow by magic this knows. There's a medium, which is the wave function, I would claim, that actually knows what's happening here as well, and it tells this part as well. So, but again, this is pretty still amazing. Just it's definitely does not look like a yin yang. Simulation theory, kinda. I did feel like I jumped to a timeline where David Gilmour is alive 4 days ago. Who's David Gilmour? Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. That David Gilmour. Okay. I'm just so terrible with names. If I haven't interacted with a name for a while, I just never existed. Have you deciphered the code? Nope. I also don't think that it's something that is to be deciphered. I think what we are to look for in any time in the near future is the regularities that it exhibits. I think decoding is going to be a much, much later project. There you go, Oscar. So we're good. Copy and pasting it from one place to another. Yeah, it definitely. So, are you saying it seriously, Kyle? Because definitely not copy paste. That's not what's happening. Is the code an entanglement code? I think that on at the bottom everything is entangled because it's one thing. That I think that's the point of it. No, obviously not. But that's, try to see the so vast. There's no way to decipher it at all. Yeah, very good point, Kirsten. No, I know. That's why I said I'm an idiot. Because Pink Floyd was one of my favorite bands. Shine On You Crazy Diamond is one of my favorite pieces of all time, basically. That's why I said I'm an idiot. Kirsten made a really good point, because when people ask, did you decipher it, or like, it's not like that. It's so robust. There's so much going on there in any given second. It's crazy. So, yeah, you have to see it for yourself to understand why the question doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm a psychic actually. Like that's what I do for like part of what I do for a living. And there's there's literally no way to decipher it. There's so much to it, and it's so vast. You can copy maybe down one or two of the letters, and then it's so vast, and they're so tiny that it's literally impossible to recode it or decipher it. It's just not the way it works.
Thank you, Kirsten. By the way, Azamun said he just created a Discord for the laser project. If anyone wants to join up, what's the handle there? Sarah Fadani. Edward, what? People just, oh man, Cool Guy 42 cracks me up. People just look at the clickbait headline, let alone read the abstract. I don't read full papers. I met Andrew Gallimore from Laser Simulation is the name of the Discord server. So if anybody wants to join that Discord, I haven't even joined it yet, but I'm definitely going to join it. Thank you so much, Azamun. I appreciate you, man. Laser Simulation, 2 words or 1 word? Underscore or anything, just Laser Simulation. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate you. Do you think other psychs... Wait. Do you think other... Check out Between 2 Points on the new album. Could provide different insight. Have you wrote scientific papers, and where can I find them? No. In the process of writing this one, but every time I get to a certain point of it, I'm like, okay, this is going to require a lot more than just some of these words, if it's actually to be published and like actually peer reviewed. But working on this one, yes. Sometimes focusing on the symbols seem to make them change their behavior. Jamie, you're talking about the one in the laser? Because the one in the laser definitely doesn't do that. And if you're experiencing that, I would love to hear about that. But if you're talking about some other code, yes, I know. These other codes change their behavior when you look at them. The laser, I've never seen them change their behavior, which is why I always say these codes are different. Do you need an invite? Invite for what? Is there a list of the code? It's again, when you'll see it, you'll go like, oh, okay, that's what you're gonna say. Like, imagine millions of characters and like moving really, really, really fast. There's no way you drown in information. There's no way you're gonna be able to make a distinction there. Eventually, when we can record directly from the Cortex and feed it directly to some kind of a chat GPT, yeah, you'll be able to do that. But at the moment, it's not possible. And I do think that the way to go at the moment is notice if there are any irregularities that we can change, either by using powerful magnetic fields or in some other way. I think that's the only way to go right now. So the pointing the finger at yourself and not others, that's the whole theme of that song. Oh, the Discord. No, I mean, I'm sure Azamun is going to plug me in. He offered to help out with that, so I appreciate that. Also, thanks to the psychic lady who reached out to me. I appreciate the info. Absolutely, Kyle. Oh, you need a link? Oh, wait. I think you were talking about Dean Radin the other day. Around the time he wrote Entangled Minds, he was running an experiment online with a real double slit experiment. Yeah, so Dean Radin did a double slit experiment, a version of it that tried to actually check if a person consciousness can influence the results, and the results seem to have been yes. Ironically, the original experiment does not automatically mean that at all, but people run with it. Yeah, but I think you need the link. Can you share the link here? How big are the characters? Are they always the same size? Does it vary? In the beginning, they look miniature, and eventually you notice larger and larger structures that they make. But in the beginning, they're very, very tiny. They're microscopic almost. Also, if I had a laser in a large supply, I have a lot of time on my hands. I could document a lot. Well, laser you can get on Amazon, and the supply can't help you there, but I'm sure you can figure it out eventually. My friend could see them from across the room after a bit. Yep. If anyone would like to donate to me, I will gladly devote time to science. This is, I feel like you're not alone. 1 second, I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you won't necessarily see anything change, but you start to see new structures appear within the code. I don't want to say which ones because I want to see like what other people see, but it literally is crazy. The longer you look at it and the more you repeat the experiment, the more you will see new things come through. But the code is never changing, it's always very stable. Yeah, I've tried that. And I've tried using like reading glasses too, and I've gotten up really close to it. And like I said, you can still only make out like maybe a few of the characters, and I've drawn them. My daughter, without the molecule, was able to see as well. She saw the code, and drew a few of the characters. But again, she said they were so small, it was nearly impossible for her to decipher at least like more than one or two. They're literally microscopic, they're so tiny. And the more and more you look at it, like Danny said, you will notice structures that they create. But that's about all I can tell you. And yeah, just be resourceful. You'll figure out a way to be able to make it happen. Just put it out to the universe and it'll come back. I haven't tried that. You can ask Danny about that. Yeah, without the molecule, the only person I've known that can see it is my daughter. But Danny has talked about other people seeing it on psilocybin. But as far as without the molecule, the only person I've known is my daughter, who's been able to actually draw on the characters that I saw similarly. But that's it.
Thank you for filling in the time, Kirsten. I appreciate that. Detective grade magnifying glass. Yeah, it will definitely work.
Well, my daughter it's kind of a long story, but she's very much an old soul, and she remembers her past life on another planet and stuff. So she can see things that most of us can't see. She can see energy already. She experiences things like that all the time. And I just asked her one day when I was looking at the laser and said, "Can you see anything?" And she goes, "Yeah, there's writing in it." And I was like, "Really?" And I said, "Write it down." Yeah, kind of like starseed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I met two other women that saw it, and I have no reason to doubt them. It's always women for some reason, so I'm pretty sure it's because women are probably more open and sensitive to the space. Also, another answer is to the question: could you use binoculars to zoom in on the code? Yeah, you definitely could. It's just like a real object, so anything that would appear larger, just like a real object would, the code would do the same. It's 1:30 a.m. I hope you guys brushed and flossed twice today. Your body needs 8 hours of sleep. Good night. Thank you, Mia. I appreciate that. Detective Gray magnifying glass, same thing. How about with up? But with a molecule. Oh, Kirsten just answered that. Actually, that have microscope cameras, you can clip onto the camera on your phone and capture video. Yep. Pretty cheap to high end. They vary and have cheap one that works pretty well. That's good. Also, Kyle, make sure that you always keep balance. Never devote your entire time to this. It's important that you also live your life. Maybe like, go ahead, Kirsten.
Also, using the zoom lens on the camera, though, Danny, you might be able to see it while on the molecule, but again, if you're videoing it, you're not going to be able to see it even if you're zooming in. Then once the molecule wears off, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, some of us do see it afterwards. Like I can see it now, but for the first time, it would be kind of a waste of time, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see it in the video though when you're in your molecule, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So Azamun, just so I understand, okay, let me just, yes, no URL is posting. Oh, okay. What's a workaround? Oh, it doesn't allow you to do the Discord link. Post the link without the domain. Okay, so Azamun, just so I understand, what you posted, which I can repost on TikTok, that's the domain. What do people do with this little thing? To join Discord, and it won't let me post it here. Got it. Okay, so you need okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Anybody who wants to join that Discord will have to send me an email. Send me an email to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and Azamun is gonna send me the link, and I'm gonna send it to everybody. How's that? I think that's the best way to go. Files are inside the computer. 650 nanometers, yes, Kyle. But again, you can go to codeofreality.com and you have a list there. There's a page with a list with all the stuff you have to get, exactly that. Make sure it's never above 5 milliwatts. It's all written there. What about those Aura camera things? You're talking about the, what is it called, Kirsten, again? The goggles, the how do you pronounce that?
Dicyanine.
Dicyanine, yeah. That's what you're talking about?
With those, you can definitely see the energy coming off of it. Like there's a reddish purplish glaze that echoes off of the code. But besides that, I haven't noticed anything. I purchased mine from the Museum of Tarot guy. And I've been able to see, like, on the pyramids that I make, the orgone pyramids, I've been able to see the energy come off the real strong ones. And so I tried it out in the laser too, and I was like, oh, whoa, it does have a refractory effect, but that's it.
That's amazing.
About a half an inch outwards. Yeah.
The blue vesicle, yeah, that one. What if the code suddenly changed to GIFs and dancing cats? Then what do we do? Well, actually, you want to hear something funny? One time it started showing me cartoons, like Family Guy. And one time I saw just Ninja Turtles inside. Now, not the code is still the code, but it's almost like it's showing you like movies.
Yeah, I saw beings running the code, like full on, they look like alien beings that were robots that were like maintaining the code, like clicking it up and like doing all sorts of work behind the scenes. Still saw the code, but behind it were the beings like maintaining it. I've only seen it once, never seen it again, and I keep hoping to see it again, but it blew my mind. I was just like, what in the heck?
Yeah, I think these are kind of like more like like cartoon manifestations, or just like kind of like a movie. Because I've seen so many different things in there, which makes me think it's kind of like the code is the pixels, and you can just make whatever.
Remember how I told you it was a portal?
Uh-huh.
I kind of feel like that's what it is. So it's a kind of a portal, and whatever your mind's thinking about at that time, you're going to kind of manifest that looking through a portal.
That makes sense to me. I can get behind that. Yeah. Okay, so you guys heard, right? If you want to join the Discord, shoot me an email. Could testing with blue, UV, or infrared laser reveal different aspects of the code? Absolutely. I don't know if it does, but absolutely. Because even with other colors, you can see some added content. aside from the code. So pretty sure that, again, all of this is part of a very long list of experiments that I got to run. There's so many hours in a day, and yeah, well, soon enough we'll be doing it full time. Until then, I'm juggling everything at once. Were you thinking about Pink Floyd while looking into it recently? LOL might have opened up a shift to a new timeline. No, I haven't done it in a while actually. But no, definitely not.
I also wanted to share one time I did experience while looking into it. I was having like back pain, and while looking into it, all of a sudden I experienced like my back pain lessening. But that again only happened one time, and I've asked other people as well, like, have you ever experienced that? And they said no. So, yeah.
And by the way, this is something that kind of relates to what I was saying before. We have this tendency, because for example, what you're saying, Divergent Normie, you're saying might have opened up a shift to a new timeline. Now, I know you're joking, but as I'm sure you know, this is a very common kind of way that people interact with these things, where they always want a special thing to happen, right? They kind of like, oh, well, like, it might be, I don't know, it might be, teaching us something, or like, so it might be, but I think that the wiser thing is always to assume that it's just doing its thing. It's not doing anything different than anything different, right? And then in order to make it maybe do something, you first need to understand it and then interact with it from that perspective. And I think before we understand it, we're jumping the gun very often, and living with the not knowing, I think, is actually a much healthier attitude. Did you want to say something, Kirsten?
Yeah, from what they've told me is the rest doesn't matter right now. Just pay attention to the fact that it's there.
Interesting.
The rest kind of doesn't matter right now. The rest will be kind of revealed later. It's kind of like, because you know me, Danny, like you work with me, I like to jump to like, oh, what about this? And they're like, slow down. For right now, it's this. Just pay attention to this and the fact that this exists.
Interesting, yeah. And again, I'm all for excitement. I think it's just, people like the it just tells me that and now that you know what it is, obviously for a long time, you see what I mean? Like when people ask you certain questions and you're like, yeah, that's not, you should just see it first. Because it's like people ask these questions, they feel it's like it exists in some kind of an esoteric space of like, do you see it with your third eye? It's like, no, with your eyes. Like it's right there.
No, you see, you're like, no, you really see it. I just always tell people that you can really see it. Like just do it, and then you'll understand completely, and I won't have to explain any of this.
Yep. Cool Guy 42 said, hopefully they are not interdimensional chiropractors. What did Terence McKenna call the UFOs? Interstellar proctologists. The Matrix code originally comes from where? China? Japan. It actually comes from a sushi menu. Really. They needed ideas and they just came up with a random sushi menu. You mean in the movie, that is, of course. What if you could manipulate it and drag out impossible ideas into 3D world? At the moment, that doesn't seem to be the case, but the what if question is, of course, that would be amazing. Wait. Why don't you want them to be multidimensional chiropractors? Cool Guy 42. Chiropractors are good, They realign us, make us better. It's it is kind of wild. Every time I think about it, it's so wild. But yeah, I do think that chiropractors are quacks. There's probably some chiropractors here. What's up? What's up, sentient? I don't know, man. I have to actually, I've wait, was I ever helped by a chiropractor? I went to one, I remember.
I'm a fan of some chiropractors as long as they take X-rays and they know what they're doing. Some of them are very good. Just like with anything, you got some garbage and you get some great. Yeah, it's like anything. medicine or in science.
Cool guy seems to disagree, but hey, these are called doctors. He said. That's amazing. And that means chiropractor that didn't seem like a quack. Not all are quacks. Yeah, I think so. Again, I don't know enough about the field to truly comment. Believe me, I wouldn't hold back. I just truly don't know. I know for a fact that um, acupuncture that helped me. Like I did it for my back one time, and that definitely helped me. You go ahead.
Same. I have a chiropractor who actually does crazy, like sacred geometry on your body with the needles. And I left my body for the first time, like when he was doing the needles, and it was insane.
Interesting. We're bringing Andre and Florida Phil. What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's going on, man?
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. It's kind of funny. I just kind of scrolled past your page here, and I heard you talking about chiropractors, and I'm a California transplant. I'm in Florida now. My daughter goes, Dad, what do you miss most about California? I said, my chiropractor.
Wait, you just said that to your daughter?
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
hilarious.
man, I had a good chiropractor. I've gone to a couple out here, and you know what? You got to find a good one, and hopefully you don't get jacked up in the process.
And you're gonna get like what was that thing that they?
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Hey,
I'm
Andrea,
sorry?
what'd you say? Sorry.
How old are you, Phil, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 57 years young.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the last chiropractor that practiced on my grandfather that raised me, he's 72. He can't walk now after it.
Wait, maybe that was the goal. Maybe the chiropractor thought he didn't want to walk. Maybe that was.
Yeah. No. The chiropractor was like, you know what, Mike?
Danny.
You never want to walk a day in your life ever again.
You're such a shit.
Unless it's inside of a pool. So, you know what? Respect to that chiropractor if that's what they thought.
No,
Me
I'm.
personally,
Of course, it's not funny. I
I would never do that.
Cool guy.
I can say that I was very fortunate, and I went to the same guy for probably close to 20 years, and I guess, you know what, I'm going to test it. I guess being lucky, because I've gone to 2 chiropractors out here in Florida, and well, now I'm a little nervous because, you know what, some of them know what they're doing and some of them don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should be a little bit nervous.
Especially when they come with that giant thing and they put it right on your tailbone and just go with a hammer, like poof. I don't know. If that doesn't raise any red flags, I don't know what does.
Always look into qualifications and always make sure they take x-rays, you know, and go with your gut intuition. That's
Cool
all I
guy
have to
goes
say.
C.
Qualifications and your
So, Danny, what kind of page is this? Is this just kind of like a hangout page, or are you here to...
Actually, we're talking mostly about the simulation hypothesis, science, religion, spirituality. I've discovered that there's actual proof that we live in a simulation, so we meet here on the daily to discuss it. I don't know how we ended up.
Aligning yourself is something that is spiritual in itself.
What? Sorry?
Yes.
This is a chiropractor support group, cool
Like, at the
guys.
same time, like, I mean,
Say it again.
It is, regardless of whatever religion that you are, when you align yourself and you are making sure that you are okay and you are healthy, that is absolute the first boundary of any religion.
Okay.
But when it comes to taking care of your older patrons, you have to put a different distinction into it, because I am 26. I have gone to chiropractors. I still have sciatica. I've been in rodeo, so I have beat my body to the ground, basically.
you say rodeo?
Yeah, rodeo.
Wow, cool.
So when it comes to that, I have beat my body to the ground, and my grandfather is a Vietnam vet. And so I take that into consideration. I'm like, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How can I better officiate him at the end of the day? And what it comes down to is making sure that you take care of your body when you're younger versus when you're older. And it has nothing to do with chiropractics, in a sense. I mean, they're great for popping your joints. They're great for popping those bones that you're just like, ugh, and you feel like arthritis coming on. But at the end of the day, it's going to come on regardless. And science proves that. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if a chiropractic does it, and it doesn't matter if you do it by yourself or somebody else does it. You're all going to suffer the same exact fate at the end of the day.
Chiropractor?
Yes. Chiropractics is chiropractor. If you do a scientific study on it, and the people that have done chiropractic within the past 50 years, to how their joints function, to people that do it within their own self, the people that do it within their own self do have a majority of coming to arthritis. But at the same time, if you do see a chiropractic, you are still going to suffer arthritis.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, before
I just wanted to bring up something really interesting. People that have experienced the phenomenon, like people who have seen UFOs and stuff like that, almost all of them have experienced RA, like rheumatoid arthritis, or some like people that have experienced stigmata, stuff like that.
Okay, so what
They
do
just did a study like that.
do with earthly beings?
What's that?
So what do UFOs have to do with
I don't know.
actual bodily?
You tell me. I was just trying to bring it back to the laser.
almost,
No,
almost cool guy 42.
I said that it has to do with UFOs.
Cool guy 42 on YouTube says almost all UFO experiences have tried riding bulls. Head trauma mostly.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't mean to laugh.
Have ridden bulls and everything else, bronking broncos. So let's hear it when it comes to that.
That's pretty amazing. Well, before we continue, we do have another person who came up. Is it Annie? Hello? All right.
See her. Oh, there she is. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I am absolutely scared to death of horses.
Yeah.
I think they're a beautiful animal, and I will look at them from afar. I have two really good friends that were killed on horses.
I was kicked in the head.
And I'm telling you, horses,
I think
man, you think chiropractic is bad for you? Go ride a horse. That's 100 times worse for you than chiropractic.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna,
That's why I went to bowls.
guys, I'm gonna bring us back to the topic of the conversation because people are here for a particular reason. If you guys want, you can stay and chat about that. But the chiropractor was off the cuff comment. It wasn't like a central point of conversation. So
I'm gonna leave.
Sure. Up to you.
Personally, no, it's nothing against any of you guys.
Sure.
I love that. I've been kicked in the head by a horse. I've been in rodeo all of my life. And honestly, I've broken my neck a couple of times. I've broken a few of my hips. I've broken my hip 3 times. I've broken it twice on one side, one on the other. And I feel like I'm not going to contribute to this conversation in a valuable way because I've both done with bulls, I've done with cattle, and I've done with horses. So I'm just going to alleviate that in a certain aspect, if you understand what I mean. So I bid you guys adieu.
Thank you, Andrea.
And you guys are amazing. I love all of you guys. And hey-o. There we go.
Cheers.
Peace out.
Good night, honey.
Okay. Oh, I think I'm stuck on the screen. I have to go back there. TikTok does that sometimes. Let's see. Oh, it's not even taking us back. Oh well. Let's see. Threw us out. Resume. There we go. We're resumed.
There you go. You did it. You did it.
Yeah. I was stuck and now I'm back. Okay. I think brain injury is becoming a theme here. Last time we had somebody who came also to talk and she said that she had a concussion. I don't know. It seems boomer moment. We all have them.
A body in motion stays in motion.
Exactly. That's Tony Robbins, I think, right? So I think I don't know if you are here with us or not, but I will. You feel free to come on again, but I will disconnect you because you're just sitting there. And now, okay, there we go. Awesome. So yeah. So to your question before, Florida Phil, I'm assuming your name is Phil, right?
Yes, sir.
How are you? So usually this channel, we talk mostly about the simulation hypothesis. A few years ago, I actually discovered that there's proof that we live in a simulation, and I've been talking about it ever since. But we meet here daily. We talk about all kinds of things. We talk about science, religion, spirituality, philosophy, chiropractors, getting kicked in the head by bulls, apparently. And but she was very nice. She was very sweet.
Yeah. Well, you know, I listened in on your page for a while, and I like to get involved, and people that they have an open mind. I like the fact that nobody on here is like pointing fingers at people, going, "Oh, it's like a smooth jazz debate." You know what I'm saying?
Smooth jazz debate. Oh, I love that, man. That's a huge compliment. Thank you. We're just freestyling over here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. You said you're from Florida?
Yes, sir. If you want to follow me, I'm Florida Phil.
Florida Phil.
I don't debate anything. I try not to do anything serious. It's just kind of a daily life page, I'm learning how to cook, so I do a lot of cooking shows, So if you want to learn how to cook really good bachelor food.
That sounds awesome. Anybody who wants to follow Florida Phil, welcome to do so. That would be awesome. For me, I froze your face while looking for Matrix online. That's awesome. It's a good thing it's froze on like a smile and not on some dopey face. Like that would be amazing. Wait, we're just getting started. I will bring. Pointing finger.
Man, thanks for letting me stop in your page.
You got it, brother.
I'm gonna follow you, man. I'll hit you up later, huh?
Okay, we'll follow you back.
Have a good one.
You too. This is awesome. Actually, it's funny. Last time we had kind of like a panel like this. We had a few people that came on, and then on the surface of it, it also looked like a completely off-the-cuff conversation that wasn't really related to any subject. But then we started talking, and all of a sudden, it started sliding into these like really interesting subjects, and there was this interaction. Maybe they're here today. I'm not sure, but there was an interaction actually between that lady that said that she had a concussion, and then this girl who was like super spiritual, and this guy who basically said that I forget the exact details, but he like had he was, I think, in a coma a few times, and then he had like near death experiences quite a few times in his life, like I don't know, some ridiculous number. I don't remember what it was, maybe like 10 or something crazy. And then he said that after all of these times, he's convinced that it's just random. There's nothing. It's just random, because every time it was just completely different, and it was very real for him, but every time it was different. And then the girl who was like super spiritual, she got so worked up in the beginning. She was like, "What do you mean? Like, no, like we're part of unitary thing." And it was such an interesting moment where somebody was like, "Look, I've had these experiences. I'm telling you, as far as I'm concerned, it's all random." And she's like, "No, it can't be." And then there was like some kind of a resolution. It was beautiful. Actually, it goes really nicely with the topic that I was talking about, which is, we can't, like you said, Florida, I feel like, try not to do things too seriously, because if you do it too seriously, you kind of forget that ultimately this is just a tiny drop in the water, in the bucket, and we don't really know. And it helps take it a little bit less seriously. By the way, I have recently, a lot of people are using this. Hey, how you doing? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Right on.
No, people use this a lot in chats. I don't know why. Is that like trending or something? Is that like demure or something? People seek companionship with emotions. Yep. Yeah. Oscar knows. I forget. I keep forgetting. Oscar knows. Everybody aside from Oscar. Thank you for reminding me, Oscar. I always forget. And please.
Oscar. I like your name, Oscar. That's cool.
And also, yeah, bring the pointing finger. No problem, man. With pleasure. Give me the money. This is amazing. This was lovely. What's up, Government Corp Watch? Wait, again. Oh, you were, I think, wait, was your name James, brother? I think I misnamed No Curve 23, James, in the beginning of the conversation. I think, and he's Brian, but his middle name is James. Were you James? I forget. Somebody told me I think their name is James. Remind me, please. But in any case, I followed your page, by the way. Cool stuff, man. I like it. I'm glad you stopped by again. What's up, baby boy?
It's getting late.
It is getting late.
You know what? I'm looking at the time going, you know what? I might as well just stay up and enjoy the rest of the day. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here.
I know. It's midnight for me. We're gonna go for a little bit longer. If you just don't mind, if you can mute yourself while you're not talking, and then you can talk at any point, but just because we can hear a noise while you're not talking, if you can mute it. Thank you, brother. There you go. You can unmute it if you want. We just hear a noise. Let's see what we have here in the comments. This is when.
Can you still hear it?
Yeah. I'm
sorry.
I'm saying that. Do you want to say something?
Oh, no, I screwed up. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention.
Yeah. No, you're totally cool, man. Like, you can unmute and speak at any point, but just while you're not talking, if you can mute it, so that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we can hear it like a static.
I got you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thank you. Dropped 1.4. I love you talking about the ET component. Which ET component? You know, I have to be honest with you, Kirsten. It's not. I don't know. It doesn't grab me. It doesn't grab me at all.
What do you mean? We've talked about this. We talked about this at the retreat when you saw the spider beings and the like insectoid beings and stuff like that.
I don't care. I don't know how else to say it. I don't care. Like I truly like it's like. But I told you this, right? Like, even what they're doing in the Imperial College, I'm like, I just think it's not. It's like, I don't know why that's interesting. It's like, okay, so let's say you find these other beings and then whatever, right? And then they have all these like attributes and they tell you things. But again, it's like I always say, it's like talking to somebody in New York. It's like it's just another dude. Yeah, they're made from more dimensions, but so what? Like most of the time, most unitary things don't know much. It's the system that knows something, and understanding it is understanding the space and the rules under which it's operating. And I know people are mesmerized by it. I have nothing against that. I can't muster any true like emotional drive to care about that. And especially because of the fact that yes, I know there must be something going on. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just like clearly something is going on. It's just that it's so far removed from trying to like identify what is the importance of like interacting with particular beings. I think it's because I don't know. I'm just guessing here. You can tell me what it is for you, but it feels to me whenever people talk about it, it's more like they want to be in a relationship with them in some way.
No, I disagree. I think, but I get it because of what you're doing. It takes away from the scientific part of it, so you kind of have
no,
to.
No,
stay
no,
away
no,
from
not.
it.
It's not. It's not that. It's that I don't know what to do with that. So it's like
Okay.
so it's kind of like how can I explain this? So it's well, first of all, it's just the truth behind it is that it's automatic. I don't control it. It's just my brain just doesn't go there, and coupled with the fact that there's so much, like all these videos that are clearly, like especially the recent ones that are so clearly drones, right?
Yeah,
And people
yeah.
losing their minds. I'm like, dude, what is happening? but it's not even that. It's not like I have like a rational reason. I think I had this conversation with Chase. You remember Chase that comes here once in a while, the engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he worked with with what's his face with Lou Elizondo, and he saw himself like all these like he saw them. I've seen one when I was a kid. Like I've seen it for sure, right?
Good night, y'all.
Good night, brother. I've seen it for sure, and yet I can't bring myself to care. I don't know why that is.
Wow.
Yeah, it just doesn't grab me. It's just like there's something about that is
Well, what about the frog being that you saw when you were on the
yeah.
molecule?
So what? Yeah. So he was there. Cool. It's kind of like I don't know. It's not alien enough. It's not. It's not. Yeah. It's not. So like, if you like, I would assume, and this is a point that Terence McKenna used to make a lot, which is that the alien would be so alien that you would be able to say nothing about it. It would be so crazy that it's like if it's a humanoid in any form, if it's somebody who's standing on their feet, that's not alien. That's some kind of a conjuring like. And by the way, even the ones that we see in the space that are more like insects, still not alien. Like that's just insect. We know this, right? So you're talking about like something that is so bizarre. Like there, I might start getting interested, but it's not that they are not interesting. Is that I don't think it matters that much what they say, right? Because I don't think they have a lot more to say than you would. We kind of
Okay.
assume that they would.
Okay,
I don't
fair.
think.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I don't think they have a much better way of understanding than you can. It's just
Yeah,
that.
it seems like they don't understand this thing as much as, I mean, even more than we do. You're right.
Yeah,
Like,
they're on their own angle. And again, I have no. So again, just to frame it in the most honest way I can possibly do, I have
Okay.
no issue with people getting interested with. Like I have no criticism of it whatsoever. I get it. I have no doubt that it is true. Like I know for a fact people seeing these things. Some, I know I've seen it. I know for sure you seeing them and interacting with them. I don't doubt that for 1 second. It's just that when I can't be like, ooh, I'm excited. Let's talk about it. I don't. It's okay.
Well, and especially if you read Gallimore, you know what the molecule is doing. So
Yeah, but Gallimore in his first book, which is interesting, he does postulate. He starts with the postulation of this game, like universal multidimensional game, that he thinks the point of the game is to figure out how to get out of the game, and they are kind of set up this game. So I might be interested in the larger conceptual framework of it being a game made by some kind of a civilization. On that level, it might be interesting. But unitary encounters, they are about as interesting as meeting somebody random on the street, which is, and exactly in the same way, which is that they might be interesting, and then it's worth talking about it in terms of that particular individual because of the merit of what they had to say. So maybe the interaction itself was interesting, but the fact of just interacting with another being is as interesting as just interacting with another human. They might be interesting, they might be boring as shit. It's just
Okay,
like that.
no, I'm following. I'm following. Yeah, that definitely makes sense because there are some that have nothing to say that are like don't really make any sense at all.
Yeah.
And then there are some that like just seem to drop clues everywhere that you're like, what? How could this possibly be?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, for example, you told me I still remember you told me one time something that I since like really paid attention to it, and I noticed to be absolutely true. So, you told me once, you asked me if I feel lower back pain sometimes. And I used to back in the day, and then it kind of disappeared. And then you told me, I feel like something is in your back right now, right? And back then, I still didn't know you very well, but I was like, okay, interesting. And then ever since I noticed, like, and then you said it's this being that kind of hangs out there and is trying to both learn, but also trying to help. And usually you said that a lot of the beings that kind of hang out around the back, it can cause some, you can correct me at any point when I'm getting wrong here, but I think you said that is usually indicative of financial issues, some elements of financial issues,
Yep.
right? And then I noticed that, and I asked people, like, whenever they would describe to me like, I was like, financial issues, and I was like, do you feel back pain, but especially when you think about this stuff, and unanimously the answer is always yes. Like, it's like yes. I was like, oh, interesting. So that for example, so that would be interesting because of the function, right? So like, okay, interesting. We should pay attention to this because it has some something that we can actually do with it, and it's not about the utility. It's just what is it for? So if the being is interesting because they have like deep philosophical things to say or whatever, yeah, that's amazing, and I'm totally down. Did Kelsey ever tell you the story of how she was feeling under the weather, and then she was like, well, maybe I'll smoke some to see if it actually pulls me out of the funk, whatever it is. And then she did, and then she comes back and is like, okay. They just went, check this out. There was just some bicycle. It was like some nonsense. It was like, okay, thanks. So that happens a lot as well.
Did they pull her out of it?
No, it was just like nonsense. It was just crazy nonsense.
They've done that to me before too.
Yeah, it was just very common.
It feels like they're the jokesters sometimes. Like they're very much like it feels like they have a good sense of humor.
Yep. Good night, Gail. Is there a way to have a date with the code? I might be the first guy to have a relationship. Ooh. Do you think the code is into you? See like all of a sudden you see a Bumble profile, or what is it called? What are the apps are now? And you see like the laser code, and it has like a profile. And
In a relationship with the laser code.
Probably you were referring to the Molecule X project you were referring to. Azamun, what are you talking about? Sorry. The men that's got oh, Mentis, you mean. Overlap between alien abduction and the molecule experiences is pretty wild though. Does it though? Does it? Because I'm not seeing any relationship. Again, this is just me, but from what I'm hearing,
I haven't seen any overlap with
zero relationship, bro,
no,
that I see.
I
And
haven't either.
yeah, and anybody who you ask, like Kirsten, for example, with a lot of experience with this molecule, if you ask them, from what you're hearing from people, the descriptions, does it sound anything like the molecule? They'll all tell you unanimously, absolutely not. It sounds nothing like it. I've seen the gesture on the mall, but I didn't understand what it means. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything. That's what my point. Thanks for checking my stuff out. Glad to be here listening. Oh, cool. You've seen a UFO or a being? Well, beings like in the space, I see them all the time. Like I just go and they're there and they talk to me. If you're talking about a UFO, yeah, I've seen one when I was a kid, and it was very clear. Actually, there was no lights involved whatsoever. It was just like an upside down cupcake that was like twisting like this, and it was very close to our window. Me and my mom, we saw it together. It was just hovering, like not hovering, but like literally going like this and spinning. Not fast. It was just kind of like cruising, and it was really close, like really close to the window. And I'm like, "What is this?" She's like, "What?" And then we see it. We saw it as clear as day. It was in the evening, but we saw it as clear as day. And then it just went, and there was no lights even. So I know for a fact that like I've seen one for sure.
Yeah, the orbs are different than the UFOs that people think are UFOs, because the UFOs are typically our technology that has been reverse engineered. Like you can tell pretty easily. Most of them have struts, and they have they have this center G pod thing in it. That's our technology, not UFO technology. The orbs are the real deal thing.
Well, it's a little tricky because the orbs can be orb lightnings, which are a natural phenomena we know about. So
True, absolutely. I mean, the orbs where, like, I don't know what you saw in your spinning orb, but it almost looks like there's a being inside of the orb, almost like it's like a Merkaba with
oh
something
no,
spinning.
mine wasn't an orb. Mine was no lights. It was like an upside down cupcake that was spinning. That's it. No lights,
Oh,
zero
wow.
lights.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just completely, just like a regular object spinning around. So throwing out dirty laundry now, but what about the giant frog being? Again, it started kind of like my interest in how realistic the space is, but it's not the thing that will bring us to a closer understanding. That's clear to me. I hear what you're saying, Danny. If you can imagine having SEX with it, it's not an alien. That's a really good distinction. Exactly. That is exactly my point. If you can see how you can potentially have SEX with it, that's not an alien. We don't have any reason to think they are, and humans are very creative, so we don't have any reason to think they are wiser than us. Exactly. Some of them might, some of them are not, some of them are exactly in your level of understanding. Babas and food chain, in my limited experience, some of them might be in the mind space for sure. Well, the other thing is, even if they are above us in the food chain, which I could see, it doesn't mean they would be honest with us. Agreed, and I agree as well. Danny, when you say unitary encounter, do you mean individual encounter? Can you remind me when I said unitary encounter? I just don't remember. Maybe any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Exactly. I don't remember who said that, but exactly. So if you allow for the possibility that our simulators might have an interest in or desire for us to gain true experiential insight into sim, that it would make sense for them to leave more explicit clues, although perhaps not as explicit as Bostrom's window. Gallimore. It shows you what you need to see, what you want to see, not what you want to see. Identify as laser sexual. Those YouTube comments are on fire today. Well, look, here's what I have to say, Cool Guy 42. It's not that they want us to have the insight of the sim, is that it's not up to anyone to decide who gets to understand what. If your mind is capable of understanding something in reality, no one can block it. They can try, but there's no like gatekeepers in that sense. I can't understand moving a mile a minute, confusing it as HELL. Yep, the code is a woman. The code's profile. Are you at least 650 nanometers? That's amazing. You guys are missing out if you're not on YouTube right now. And then go thoughts. Wow, that's amazing. The code says, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. The sentient orbs are the plasma wizards. Whistleblowers have spoken of the physical craft having little subcraft which emit such a bright light they look like light orbs, but they have a solid object inside. I seen a UFO as a kid, looked like a star, but obviously intelligently controlled and moves at insane speeds. You are talking about people encountering entities and molecules, and you kept saying a unitary encounter, but I think you meant individual encounter. I'm not sure. I don't remember ever using the term unitary encounter. Maybe something else I said. You thought that's what I meant? You mean that they are you mean they're a hive mind? Is that what you mean? What I said?
Yeah, I didn't hear you say unitary encounter either.
Thank you. You must have misread. Yeah. I might have said hive mind. They definitely can have a hive mind, and they can also be individuals. No, I know, but I'm trying to think what you could have misheard me. Unless you smell what the rock is cooking. Hello, drums and rain. 2024. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, also the orbs I'm talking about, guys, are not the ones that are concentrated from the satellite. They're sentient. Like you can communicate with them. It's like you flash at them, they flash back, or you talk to them, or it's like you can communicate with them telepathically. They'll blink back at you if you blink. It's kind of weird. I can't really explain it, but Danny's girlfriend and I were experimenting with a laser, and we had some really cool experiences in Costa Rica with doing Morse code out into the sky.
Yeah, Kelsey said that she definitely saw one of them going down, to which I replied, guys, come on, there's falling stars all the time. And she said, no, it looked different. I'm like, do you know how falling stars can look? She's like, yes. I'm like, do you know how all of them can look? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, but I have to admit that I've heard this from enough people to accept that no, not Starlink, cool guy 42. It like went down fast and it responds to like what you're doing, and at least Kelsey is like so far from wanting to believe this to be true that I know for a fact that if she responded, that means something was there.
Kelsey was a hard sell, so
yeah.
Definitely, she's not like.
I'm still a hard sell, but I need to see it. But again, I accept it because a lot of people told me about this, and they're completely unrelated to one another. So people kind of like insist on this. It is possible that it's some kind of a meme that made itself online, and people just started like repeating it. That's also possible, but I do believe that is most likely the case. What do I want to say about this? So I understand what you're saying. Like you communicate with them and you feel like they're reacting. So I get that part, like with the laser or something. Just as another comment there to buffer it, we do know of instances where, for example, orb lightnings behave very similar to what you would expect a craft to do. So like they hover, they go down, they enter houses through walls, they hover around, they go from room to room, then they just disappear or go into some kind of a screen. This is well documented. On the other hand, to be fair, we don't quite know exactly how they work. And who knows, maybe they are sentient. Like that's why they do what they do. It's just that science, doesn't jump to conclusions. So it's kind of hard to decide here. I mean, at this point, listen, here's what I know for sure. I know that whatever's on the other side of the spirit molecule is a real space. To me, that's as clear as day. I know that they are real beings 100% without a question. So there is no doubt in my mind that a lot of the phenomena that science thinks is just kind of like random, nature stuff is not. That I can tell you with 100% certainty that some of these things are not just like this straightforward, some kind of a natural phenomena. That I know for sure. Which ones? That I don't know. I've heard the CE5 thing work when people ask for a sign and UFO show up. Yeah. I don't know if it's...
Yeah,
Yeah, go
I've
ahead.
done CE5 before.
What is
It
that? Can you
works
explain to me? Because I don't know what that means.
So it's Stephen Greer's protocol. Basically, you play these crop circle tones. Remember, we did it in Costa Rica when I was
Okay.
playing that. Like you put that out into the atmosphere, and then usually orbs will show up within about 10 or 15 minutes, and you meditate together. As long as everybody's on the same wavelength and nobody has any fear, you'll usually start to see something show up.
Huh.
We did it in Joshua Tree a couple of weeks ago, and we saw like 3 or 4 orbs come pretty close to us.
It's like binaural beats or whatever. Cool Guy 42 is amazing. There's much more in the universe than we grasp. That's one of a few things we know. Yep, basically. And at this point, I've been humbled enough times to know that I should never assume that something is sounding too crazy, because I've seen pretty insane things all of a sudden turn out to be true. Stephen Greer with a emoji with the what is it called, spirals inside. I'm with him. He looks like a complete con artist. I'm not saying everything he ever repeats is, because he probably repeats a lot of information of other people. But if I have to judge him as a person, I would vote 100% that he's a con artist. And they get cocky and get humble, promoted.
Yeah, I don't buy into his systems either, but like just the way that he does the way that he calls them in, that's the technique that a lot of people use. We don't use that. Seven and I just sit and meditate and like kind of send out signals. We kind of like project ourselves upwards and like send ourselves upwards and then go back down, kind of like remote viewing. So like, hey, we're here, and then we follow it back down to the place that we're at, and we keep doing that enough times, and then after that, then they'll usually appear.
Yeah, maybe there's something in the way that he probably reiterates some information by other people, which is possible. But no con artists ever wear jeans that tight. That I can tell you for sure. Losing a balloon on one is UFO hunts. Yeah, it predates him for sure. Somebody, Azamun said, every time I get cocky, I get humbled hard. Yep. Tight jeans, yeah. Jesus. He's like, all he does is leg day, and then he puts the tightest jeans possible. Orbs could also ionize concentrated laser from satellite. You responded to that, right, Kirsten?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Future humans time traveling back in time to see what Vader Gramps was up to. It's Back to the Future. It's all the UFOs are Marty McFly. It's amazing. They see the jeans and turn back. This is amazing. It's a good comedy show right now. Yeah, but you know what? I truly have, like, sometimes. So, for example, okay. So, to be fair, Greer is like without a doubt, like at least I can tell you that it's up to something, like for sure, right? And I actually have some friends who met him, and they asked me before. They're very clever that way. And these friends asked me, "What do you think about him?" I was like, to be honest, not a big fan. And they're like, "Yeah, it's exactly what it feels like in person." I was like, "Yep." Yeah. But my point was that there's some people in that space that feel very sincere that do confuse me. For example, Robert Grant, right? Super, like this, the nicest guy, super successful, just seems to be very kind of like open, you know. I think he even had Lawrence Krauss on his podcast and invited him to Egypt to do that whole thing. And Lawrence Krauss is kind of like, he's a pretty straightforward physicist. But then, for example, he talks about just on the merit of what he's saying, right? I actually spoke to him, and in person, same thing. Like super nice guy, amazing, incredible human. But then he gets on this kick about talking about all these things about the pyramids, and then he compares apples to oranges. Like he starts talking about certain dimensions in feet, and then other dimensions in the metric system, and then he makes this like connections, and I'm like, what system makes comparisons across measurement units, and then expects it to be somehow coherent? Like that's, for example, confusing to me. I don't know why whenever people interact with that space, they somehow at some point they kind of glide off the critical thinking part. They just kind of go into this weird hypothesizing that doesn't really connect to anything. So that's, I don't have a conclusion here. I'm just kind of like riffing. But that is confusing to me. Like if Greer would be saying that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I would expect. But then I know from interacting with him and watching him speak that in the case of Grant, he seems to be a very genuine and wholesome human. So why still this tendency to do that thing? Because I know he's not coming at it from like just like trying to pull a wool over somebody's head. Like he doesn't come across as that guy.
J. Allen Hynek, his son Paul Hynek, is a client of mine. I've done ceremony for him many times, and Paul has said, many times that like his dad was sent out to do disinformation stuff, but then ended up going, hey, there's something here. And
Interesting.
that then now and then totally believes. And he said like their whole lives were like having, Christmas trees with like alien stuff on them and stuff because they all believe, like, because they believed. And so it was interesting the first time that he did the molecule with me. He was able to actually see the beings inside the space. So he was like, wow, like that was really profound for him.
Oh, you mean
he met
he met the multidimensional beings?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I did a podcast with him. You should listen to it. It's pretty amazing.
What's the name of it so people can know?
With Paul Hynek, Psychic Babes. It's on my YouTube channel.
Can you spell Hynek for me?
Hyneck.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So everybody heard? Go check it out. But
because he's brilliant. He's the CFO also for the Monroe Institute as well. So
Grant or his son?
J. Allen Hynek, his son is Paul. Paul is the CFO for the Monroe Institute. He also keeps doing his dad's work with the.
Got it. I thought you were talking about that was the son of Grant.
No,
he doesn't have children. Okay, that makes sense. Greer legit had the first reasonable disclosure project with legit military dudes swearing they've seen something. I watched it live when I was like 14. And then he went full grifter. But like you said, doesn't mean he doesn't parrot some true things, because all the best deceptions contain some truth to hook you. The Disclosure Project 2000, I think. Cool Guy 42, yeah, that was interesting. They all wind up being grifters, to be honest. Ask him what
Greer's uncle or something works for Skunkworks, so that's my only concern.
Yeah, I saw some pictures when he was younger, right? He was like connected to some kind of nefarious groups. Ask him what he thinks they call the quarter pounder in France. Oh man, not one of those. Well, in the metric system, if you multiply by 12 inches, then divide by miles, then times by second its distance to the moon, to the earth, if you also minus 1500 and add 23. Basically, yes. That's what I mean. It's like this random shit. It's like, oh, and then it aligns with the thing. Sure, I can make anything align this way. It's so confusing. If a UAP leaves Chicago at 5 p.m. traveling at 3 parsecs, how many metric tons of apples does it have when it lands in Zeta Reticuli? Mirage Bed is a good documentary on us government faking UFOs as cover for our project. Multidimensional beings use metric. Catch you boys, let everyone join the Discord so we can nonsense at all hours of the day together. Boys and girls, US government. Amazing. Okay, we're approaching the 2-hour mark. Let's see what we got on.
In all fairness, though, guys, like, really, with as far as the ET thing goes, like, there are beings that are more intelligent than us that are living. Like, I'm fully convinced of that. Aren't you, Danny?
Sure, but
Yeah.
but it does. It's nowhere written that they have your best interest at heart, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing you can rely on for sure is knowledge. That stays the case. That's what I think people miss, which is like knowledge is always the only thing you can trust, which is why the whole Terrence Howard thing was so ridiculous, because he was attacking the one thing that you can actually trust, which is knowledge. Because it's not depending on anybody else; it's just you understanding it. For instance, I was programmed to spread the virus of a certain religion. It showed me many things. The best liars believe what they are selling, seeing and believing when we don't know all the sense. Can be manipulated through the correct input. Okay. So complex. We may have to dull our normal senses to discover more. What is that? Maybe. I'm not sure, guys. I think again, if I have to maybe make one kind of summation of what I think was of value for me, was to talk about that thing that I heard from Ido, which is that we rarely allow ourselves to just experience, and I catch myself doing that too, because it's so easy to not notice how the conceptual framework actually dictating what you think is possible. Because I think there is something scary about just saying, because it does make you feel like you're on your own. If you postulated everything you so far think, which for sure some of it is, or a big chunk of it is something that other people said, you do find yourself on your own, and that's kind of scary, right? It's like, what if all of this is wrong? But then again, you don't want to be wrong about that. Like, what if you're the only one that is wrong and everybody else are correct? That's the scariest, right? But I think we should allow ourselves to go there sometimes. What was it, Nico? What did you say here? For instance, I was programmed to spread the virus of certain religion. It showed me many things. The best liars believe. Yeah. It's not a lie if you believe it. We may be using too human behavior to try and get answers. Very scary. Well, there's things that float above human behavior, which is universal knowledge, which is the only thing you can really rely on. We are ants arguing if life exists outside the park bench of the rubbish. What is this? Bench for ants? Carry me up. So actually, this is an idea. I might adjourn with this. So it's a thought experiment, and essentially, the goal of it is to illustrate that this analogy between us and ants, so like kind of like a similar, like making the difference between us and more advanced aliens or AGI, and comparing it to us and the ants, is actually an incorrect way of thinking about it. And the thought experiment is this: if you take somebody from, let's say, 20,000 years ago, and you put them here now, this second, I would claim that no matter how long you're going to give them, no matter how much you, obviously not if they're a kid, yeah, you can definitely teach them. But if they're like an adult, well-formed adult, let's say in their 40s, okay, and you place them here now, there is no time in the world they'll be able to ever catch up, ever. Not because they're dumb, because they have the exact same brain we do, but they have certain softwares that are missing. For example, the software that progress is possible doesn't exist for them. They don't actually postulate that to be true, so the brain doesn't allow them to go there. Like, they think whatever is. And also, the idea that you can actually store information in culture is of a certain scale is relatively foreign to them. Like it's not a thing that they think is possible. Therefore, again, they don't think of it in these terms. And also, and this is before you start walking them down the line of, basic mechanics, how things evolve, and then to things that are like physics, electricity, biology, like all these things. These are actually the easy parts. The underlying software that allows you to run these higher understandings is the thing that is missing, because they have the same brain as you genetically, right? But they don't have certain softwares. However, and this is where the part that illustrates that it's a mistake to think of us versus the aliens the same as us versus the ants. If you take you now, as you are now, even with, doesn't matter what kind of knowledge you have, you might be, not very well educated, no university experience whatsoever, it doesn't matter. Just because you were born in this time and you've interacted with computers and things like that. If I take you not 2 million years to the future, but 10 million years to the future, which with exponential rate of advancement of technology, you can understand that it's just like, holy crap, like what? Like you won't recognize anything, right? I would claim that it's just a matter of time before you'll catch up. Because you have certain universal prerequisites, you have certain universal software running in your head saying, wait a second, I know this is crazy, but I also know that it must be a product of some technological evolution that I just don't understand. And just that alone opens the door for then you being open to like, okay, what do I need to understand? Okay, let's go. And then you understand that just the fact that you understand that it's lack of knowledge that separates between you and understanding what's going on. And for somebody from even 20,000 years ago, they don't even have the perception of knowledge in the way that we think of it. They don't have like an idea of epistemology, that it's possible to acquire new knowledge to a universal degree. They don't have that. Because they don't have that.
Like giving a caveman a cell phone.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, they will never figure it out. But if I give you some device from 2 million years in the future, no matter how insane it is, you will still be able to do some work in trying to understand what's happening. Even if you understand the details, you will understand that you won't lose your mind. Like you'll be like, okay, I have to try and figure it out. And so this is why I think it's not the same. We enter the stage where we can understand universal things that are true across all space and time. It's just a matter of time and effort to actually try and understand them. But if you're trying to bring a certain kind of mind up to speed, you might not be able to. And that's the difference between not just other animals, but even humans that are missing certain types of software that didn't exist yet. And I think that is true. Let's see what we have. If I was studying ants' natural behavior, the experiment would be over if they realized I was observing them, because they might not act naturally. Act would be like, shh, behave. Okay, actually, that would be an interesting subject for tomorrow, to talk about minds and how, because the whole hive basically behaves like a mind. So you can think of more complex organisms in terms of hives of cells that kind of just integrate together and then they do things together, like a very fancy transformer, basically. That being said, guys, it's almost 1. Love you all. Peace and love. See you,
Love you,
everybody.
Danny.
Kirsten,
Thanks.
love you. Thank you so much for being here, participating. Cool Guy 42, thank you for making us laugh. First Cause, who else is here? Azamun, thank you so much for your help. I appreciate you. And not sure who else is here on X or Twitch, but welcome to you as well. Government Corp Watch. Yeah. Okay. James and Brian, have a good night, everybody. Peace and love. Whoa. You gotta check yourself, Dan. Have a good night. All right. Have a good night, everybody.